Hello and welcome to Mind the Gap, the show where we spotlight the avoidable disconnects between brands and the people they serve. I am your host, Iremofe Koforola, and today we are diving into one of the biggest silent killers of business growth, which is poor brand identity. Now, here is a fact. Studies show that consistent brand presentation across all platforms can increase revenue by up to 23%. Yet, many businesses still struggle with how customers truly see them. Because brand identity is more than just a logo, a catchy slogan, or a social media presence. It is the personality of your business. It is how customers feel when they hear your name. And when there is a gap between what a brand says and what the customers actually experience, trust begins to break. And now let's think about this. Customers don't just buy products anymore. They buy stories, values, experiences, and emotional connections. So how can businesses bridge this identity gap between losing relevance? So today we unpack the power of strategic brand identity and why getting it right can mean the difference between surviving and leading. So to give more depth to our conversation, our guest Abraham Damilola Akinyele, popularly known as Taitan the Creator, a creative director, visual storyteller, and brand strategist, joins us to help unpack what real brand identity means. Welcome to the show, Abraham.
Thank you so much.
So
Good
we
to
are
be
looking, so good. So we are looking at something that's very crucial for every brand that wants to stay in business or want to stay exceptional. So to begin with, what actually is brand identity and why is it just beyond the logos and colors?
Okay, so very good question. There was something you said earlier while you were introducing, which was trust. You mentioned trust. Brand identity is what helps a business build trust. Because in business, you need trust to be able to not just sell, but to be able to stay relevant. All right. So brand identity encompasses the visual identity, encompasses the personality, the tone of voice, right? Encompasses all of those things that make up a brand and help a brand to be able to build trust with their desired audience in order to be able to sell what product or service that they wish to sell. All right. Yeah.
Interesting one. So having highlighted all of these things, why do you then think that some brands they estimate the role of brand identity? Why do you think they just underestimate what crucial role it plays in their brand promotion?
Okay, so I think one of the biggest problems with entrepreneurs not knowing how important brand identity is the fact that there's a knowledge gap. A lot of people actually are unaware of what brand identity is, and people don't really pay attention to the nitty-gritty of what needs to be done when starting a business, venture. All right, a lot of people, founders, entrepreneurs, and I think I see this more popularly with small to medium scale enterprises, right? They don't really do their due diligence in finding out what would make them stand out in a sea of competition. And the problem is, in a country like Nigeria, so many people are just aloof and after making money. Everybody wants to make money. So when people go into business, they are in this sort of bubble. They don't see that they have competitors. All right, they don't do their due diligence in finding, okay, who am I really selling to and what do these people want? All right, what value will these people benefit from what it is that I want to establish, right? And then they just go into business head first, and then after some time they realize that things are not going the way they want because there was a point where they skipped a part of the process, and that part of the process involves brand identity and having strong strategic foundation, right, upon which their business needs to be built upon in order to thrive.
Wow. So having highlighted those factors, so let's look at something that is also very crucial: the core building blocks of a very strong brand identity. Let's look at this.
All right. So a lot of times when I am communicating with my clients, when I'm onboarding a client, I like to help them to see that what they need goes beyond the logo. What they need goes beyond brand colors, typography. All of those things fall under visual identity. Now, visual identity is a part of brand identity. It's not the whole brand identity itself. Brand identity involves strategy, involves positioning, involves quality control, ensuring that this product that you say you are putting out is actually good. Like the product actually works. Because I like to let people know that you don't just put out stuff just because you want to make money. There are certain brands I would not work with. There are certain people who reach out to me that I would not work with because I do not believe in what they are doing. For me to be able to work with you, I like to believe that you truly know what it is that you're doing and you genuinely have people's interests at heart. You're not just trying to get into business just to make money, but you truly want to serve people with what it is that you're building. All right. So brand identity encompasses visual identity, like I said, encompasses strategy, encompasses positioning, encompasses tone of voice, quality control, social media, that's digital media, and how you're able to leverage that as well to be able to push the product that you're building. So these and many more are what brand identity is made up of.
Wow. So let's take it one after the other. You mentioned so many factors: social media, the tone, the visual identity, which is just mostly what people are more concerned with. About. Most brands, that's what. So let's talk about what you've highlighted. So let's take it one after the other. The first one you mentioned, apart from visual identity, strategy. Let's go into strategy. So how can brands strategize?
Okay, so I think the first thing that you need to do, I'm assuming that a lot of people who listen to this are just starting out their business. One of the first things that you need to do when you're starting a business is find someone who's good, who knows what they're doing. You need to do your research. Instagram is a great place to be on if you're looking for people who can help you to take your ideas from just being an idea to something that actually becomes tangible, that can connect with people who you're trying to reach out to. Because without strategy, it's just like if the foundation is faulty, right, there will be nothing to build upon. There will be nothing, there will be nothing for the house or for the building to truly stand upon. So strategy is that foundation. And the core of strategy is ensuring that we have clarity on who you're trying to reach out to, right?
Your target audience.
Your target audience, exactly. And then what are the limitations, right, that could limit you from being able to achieve what those people actually need, and how can you actually overcome those limitations? So strategy is not the very exciting or popular part of brand identity, but it is the most important part because it's the foundation of what you're building. It's just like if you don't know who you're talking to, how would you know the right things to say? All right. So that's the core of strategy. Ensuring that you know who your audience really is and what it takes to be able to meet their needs. That is strategy.
So our strategy then different from the tone, because you also mentioned tone. Because after you've strategized, then you go into the tone. So how do you marry that?
Okay, so strategy is general, right? Strategy is something that each and every business, whether you're in the fashion space, whether you're in the media space, whether you're in the technology space, is something that everybody needs to do, right? But then tone of voice is something that is specific to each and every business, because everybody cannot sound the same. Everybody should not sound the same. And that's something that a lot of small to medium scale business owners need to understand, that when you're getting into business, you need to find what differentiates you. You need to find what separates you from the rest of the crowd, because if you don't stand out, you'll blend in. And if you blend in, how will people find you?
It's so hard.
Exactly.
That is so. I can't say that.
If you don't stand out, you will blend in, right? And if you blend in, how will people find you?
So make sure you are found, because it's very important. It's a competitive market, and everybody just wants to be seen. And let's still look at it, because you've what are these? Let's let the seed germinate. You understand? Let's look into some other things. How brands can connect with their consumers, but at the same time, they make some common identity mistake, and this leads to some gaps. So, why or what are the common brand identity mistakes that some brands make, and that how can that result to gaps between brands and their customers?
Okay, so I think one of the most common, like I said earlier, is skipping the strategy phase.
Yeah.
Right? That's one of the most common
gaps,
mistakes
that lead to gap
that brands make. And then not clearly defining who you're trying to reach out to and what your product does for people.
Yeah.
Not being able to articulate that. And then thirdly, saying something and doing something else. Saying something, because the truth is, your brand is not who you say you are. Your brand is who people say it is. Exactly.
It's not about you.
It's not about you.
It's about your consumers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're setting up your business, when you're setting up your brand, even as an individual creator, as an individual establishment, maybe your personal brand, for example, make sure that you're not just thinking about what you think, but you're thinking about what the consumer is also thinking, right? Because it's a two-way street. You're not interacting with yourself. You are interacting with other people that don't know you, don't care about you, but they need something that you say you can deliver on. So one thing that is very important to not miss out is the promise that you say you're promising to your desired audience. Make sure that you're actually delivering on that promise. Don't say, this is who we are, this is what we do, and then you do something else, or you fall short of expectation. This is why a lot of companies abroad, particularly in the software space, they do beta testings.
Okay.
So they do alpha testing, they do beta testing, because they need to make sure that this product that we're putting out, a few people who are well versed in that particular industry have used the product, have understood the product, have analyzed it to see where there are faults, where there are bugs, where there are errors, and have been able to give us feedback so we can work on those things before pushing it out to the wider audience. This is one of the things that separates a good brand from just any average business.
Well said. So, you made mention of the products. Yes. Yeah, you made mention of not just what you say you are, yes, what people actually, what they feel at the end of the day. Now let's look at this, because there are a lot of inconsistencies when it comes to brand messaging. So how can inconsistent messaging damage a brand's credibility? Okay,
first of all, I know that we're in the era of AI. Take a pause. As a business owner, don't rush to ChatGPT. I know that there is Claude out there.
But don't rush to Claude. But you advise them to use the tools now.
Yes, use the tools, but there is a certain point that you get to where you need to use those tools.
Profound.
If you're a business owner and you want to truly, because the truth is, people can tell when you're a copycat. People can tell when you don't have authentic ideas of your own as someone building a brand, as someone behind a brand. So before you run to ChatGPT, because the thing that many people don't understand is ChatGPT doesn't give you new ideas. ChatGPT is a large language model that works on pre-existing ideas, that works on patterns, stuff that has been put into it, that has been imputed, that it continues to recycle and recycle and recycle. So you are the one who knows what you want to create. You're the one who knows who you want to reach. Sit down and think for yourself and craft a message that truly embodies what it is you are trying to build. Don't rush to ChatGPT to give you copy. I know I'm shaking tables. Don't rush to ChatGPT to give you copy, to tell you, oh, give me vision and mission statement. That's what a lot of people do now. Yeah, that's what a lot of people do now. But you're not going to get authentic vision and mission statement from ChatGPT that is going to be able to truly define the authenticity that you have as someone building a brand. So you need to be able to sit down and think for yourself. You need to be able to look around and see the problems that consumers are having, see the pain points that people experience, and see how you can come in to be able to solve those problems. In fact, problem solving is one of the core one of the core elements that make a powerful brand. And if you look at the likes of Apple, Microsoft, they've solved huge problems.
Even ConsumerHallaTV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys are solving problems that
Yeah.
people have on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
Information gap. I looked at the YouTube channel before coming here and I was so impressed. You guys are solving problems that people, because there are certain things that people need to know that they don't know. And people don't perish because of any other things, lack of knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. You know, you mentioned that being authentic, in summary of all of it, is just very important to tell your brand story.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing, the show is just getting more interesting and more impactful because our guest here has a lot to unpack today as we look at how we can bridge the gap between brand identity and customer experience. So we go on a short break right now, go nowhere, and when we return, we look at how brands can better connect with their consumers.
Thank you.
welcome back. In case you are wondering how you can build a stronger brand identity, then this is the right show for you. Mind the Gap, and we've been discussing so much about brand identity, how you can bridge your brand identity with customer experience. So, still with me in the studio is our guest, Abraham Damilola Akinyele.
Akinyele.
Yes, Akinyele, who has been doing so much justice to our discussion, and is a brand strategist and visual storyteller. And by the way, Taitan the Creator.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about that, because you create a lot. And how have you personally been able to help brands align with their customers' expectations?
Okay, so there is a two when it comes to strategy, like I said earlier, strategy is the foundation of building a brand, a good brand, right? There's the sort of ideation part of it, and then there's the execution part of it. Now, as a designer, I would encourage, right, speaking to other designers, that you don't just do the design part. Make sure that as much as possible you position yourself as a strategist, so that you can have a say in what the brand is doing, in the direction that the brand is heading, to be able to help them to be able to actually reach the audience that they are trying to reach. All right, so how do you go about that? Now, the reality is you might not be able to get as much involved in the execution part of strategy, because that involves a lot of in-house work, right, for the brand, and that might not be something that you are willing to go into, right? But as much as possible, when it comes to the ideation aspect of strategy, ensure that you are able to truly and wholly clarify with the brand, right, with the entrepreneur, what it is that they stand for, who they are, and who they are trying to reach, so that at the end of the day, they have a solid foundation to be able to build from, right? That's your own job as a strategist, and that's also what I do for the brands that I work with. Now, usually sometimes there are budget constraints that don't encourage many business owners to be able to add that to the deliverables or the scope of work, right? But as much as possible, I would even prefer, right, like I tell my clients, that it's better you work on strategy first, leave the logo, leave the colors, leave all those things first, and work on strategy. Really get to find out who you're selling to, how you can sell to them and be unique in the market that you're in the industry that you're in. All right.
There's also something that is very important, because while growing up, we know that there are so many ways that storytelling has a very powerful way of shaping brands. I can remember, you could get a cup, you could get different products, and just because of the story that were told. And we've highlighted that when it comes to brand identity, it goes beyond the logos, the visuals, and all that. So let's look at how storytelling can really shape or build memorable brands.
All right. So people want to buy from who they relate to. In fact, people listen more to who they relate to. This is a universal principle, right? The type of music that you listen to the most is the type that you relate to the most. The types of clothes that you buy is the type that you just have this, you just feel like it looks really good on you the most, right? People buy from who they relate to the most. And that's something that a lot of people, especially in this part of the world, are missing out on a lot. But I think in the recent years, because of the fast emerging creator economy that we have, particularly in Nigeria, people are beginning to, truly lock in on how powerful the creator economy can be leveraged for them to be able to connect with their audience with authentic storytelling. Now, the brands that are going to really stand out, right, in the coming years are brands that will be built upon the backs of creators who people are able to relate to. And just like you said, storytelling. Now, if I'm able to tell my story in a way that someone who has never met me before, someone who I don't know, someone who possibly we're not even from the same tribe, but they can pick something in my story that they can relate to, best believe that you've already gained one person who believes in what it is that you're doing. So as a brand, don't just focus on selling. Don't just focus on selling. And this goes to even the people who sell clothes. Don't just focus on selling. There was an entrepreneur that I worked with last year. She was transitioning her business from selling clothes to building our own fashion brand.
Wow.
And what got me, because initially at that point I was very busy, I was very occupied, I didn't want to take on the project. But what made me engage with her was after she filled the so there's a questionnaire that I sent to my clients, right, during the onboarding process. After she filled the questionnaire, there was in the area where I asked what her motivation for the business was, because it's very important to know what the motivation for someone starting their business is, because it has to be more than just money or profit making.
Exactly.
Right? So it was that part that really struck me, right? She genuinely wanted to cater to a very niche section of women, right, with the idea that she had. And that was the reason why I told myself that I need to be a part of this project, because I knew from that questionnaire alone that this person had something. So it's very important for you to be able to know, number one, what is your own story? What is your own story? And trust me, your story might not be the finest sounding, but if it's authentic, if it's real, people will connect it, because best believe there are people out there who are going through something similar to what it is that you're going through, who have gone through it as well. So what is your own story, and how can you be able to, in a very, very genuine way, communicate that to people who you're selling to?
Yeah, still talking about the power of storytelling, because I mean, we live in that age now. So, you know, social media is very powerful.
Yes.
And we see a lot of stories every day. So how can brands leverage on the use of social media to tell their stories?
Social media, I believe that if you're a business, you should be on as many social media as possible. But social media is not a touch point that you rush into as a brand. Now, as a brand, like I said earlier, it's important to establish your strategy. It's important to establish what your foundation as a brand is. Now, not every brand would be able to align to certain platforms. Not every brand will thrive on TikTok. Not every brand will thrive on X.
Clock it or yes.
Exactly. Right? So you need to be able to find, as a brand, who are we for? See, this whole thing with brand strategy and understanding your foundation as a brand is so important, because it's going to determine so much of what you do as a business, how you position as a business, right? You need to find out who are we as a brand first, and then what channels can we use to best communicate our message. That's what's going to determine the platforms that you're on. Now, we all know that social media is important, and if you're not on a social media platform as a brand, you're sleeping, right? So how best can you maximize social media? Number one, have an eye for quality, have good taste, right? What is going to make you stand out? See, this one is for our Nigerian people here. What's going to make you stand out as a brand is your taste. If you have bad taste, it will show. And if you have bad taste, you will blend with every other person, and nobody will find you. Nobody will be able to distinguish you from the crowd, right? If you're a fashion business, see, I don't really like to say this, but I think it needs to be said. Look beyond the environment that you're in. Look at what people overseas are doing. Because a lot of those people, they are doing something right. They're doing what they're doing right, and they're doing it well. So if, as a business owner, you're surrounded by repetitive looking businesses, look beyond that environment, look beyond that space. What are people beyond your area? What are people beyond your vicinity, your country? What are they doing? And how can you draw from the
From their
wealth
strengths
of
and be
exactly
apart.
from the wealth of the strength that they are exhibiting in how they've built their brand, how they've built their business. If you're a tech founder in this country, of course, as a tech founder, you know that you should be looking at the likes of Apple, the likes of OpenAI, the likes of
All these different
Anthropic.
brands. Actually.
Exactly, these different brands, because those people, they know what they're doing and they're doing something well. And very fortunately, we actually have brands in Nigeria who are doing really well, but there are still not many. There are very few of them.
So
right?
they just have to leverage on knowing what they want for
Exactly,
that
knowing what they want and then being able to draw from the wealth of what has been done before, so far it has been done well. Don't just draw inspiration from anywhere. Make sure that where you're drawing from is a very, very good source. All right, yeah.
Yeah, so powerful. Now let's look at this before I allow you go. Emotional connection is very important for any product.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier, you talked about products earlier on, but let's look at why emotional connection is more important than just the product. Because at the end of the day, I could get this, I could get a lot of things and forget about it. But something that keeps, ringing in my subconsciousness is that connection I have with it. So what is the place of emotional connection to a customer more than the product they get?
Okay, so the reality is you cannot have positive emotional connection from your audience if your product is not good, if it doesn't actually meet a need, if it's not solving a real problem. And on the flip side, you can't bank on having a good product alone to be able to emotionally connect with your audience. You can have a good product, but if you're putting it out or if you're directing the product or the service to the wrong people, definitely you're not going to get emotional connection. That's why, like I said, and I will say again, it's important to have nailed your strategy at the beginning, to know who it is that you're trying to speak to, who it is that you're trying to reach, and then to have the right product, the right messaging that reaches those people. Now, what makes your product stick in the minds of people? I would say it's caring enough, really caring enough about solving people's problems, right? Because if all you're interested in is profit making, you will not really go far and you will not really be able to truly connect with your audience. Like there's something called quality of life features. There are certain products that you use that the first time you use the product, you're just like, wow, like the person who created this product was thinking about real problems that I could have, right, as a person in my day-to-day
I can
life,
relate.
in my interaction with this product, right? So if as a business owner you are able to really do the work that you need to do at the beginning, don't rush into getting a signboard, don't rush into designing the logo. Really do the work that really will set you apart and help you to solve real problems and meet people's needs. That's what's going to help you get people who are emotionally connected to what you're building and will not forget you in a hurry.
Whew. And lastly now, so let's look at this. For brands who have started and they are having issues now, they've started already, they've done the billboards, all of those things, and now they're like, it's like we rushed into this thing. But how can they retrace that steps and feel like, okay, let's look at connecting better with our customers? So what steps should they take to ensure that they get better and stronger brand identity?
Okay, the first thing you need to do is to be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself enough to say, we've actually maybe made a mistake. We've actually not put some things into consideration. And be willing to sit down with your team. Be willing to sit down with whoever it is you're working with, right, as a business owner, and retrace your steps, right? This is very, very important. Be willing to be honest enough to admit that you've made mistakes. And then, like I said earlier, find people who can genuinely and truly professionally do the work that you need to do. Ask questions, Many people in this part of the world don't like asking questions. I don't know why. Why Nigerians, why don't you ask questions? Ask questions.
Ask questions.
Yeah, ask questions. If you don't ask questions, you will not know. So it's when you ask questions that you can be able to find out, okay, this is the problem that we really have, and this is how we can solve it. And lastly, be humble. A lot of Nigerian business owners are very arrogant. Be humble enough to look at other businesses in your space and see what they are doing right and adopt it, right? But at the same time, be careful enough and be authentic with yourself enough not to blend in or look like a copycat of other businesses, right? I would have liked to mention some names, but because we're on air, I don't want to mention some names because I continue to see brands copy other brands, and I'm like, this copying you're copying is so obvious. Why can't you actually sit down and do the work you need to do to be able to put out something that is truly authentic? But I really hope they figure it out.
Yeah, well, the purpose of this is just to educate brands, probably like you said, those who probably might have been copying, so that they can get it better. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Abraham Damilola Akinyele, Taitan the Creator, and thank you for being on the show today.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm quite sure so many brands, they learn so much from this episode. I'm looking forward to seeing you on other episodes as well.
Definitely.
All right, so brand identity is not just about being seen. It is about being remembered, trusted, and chosen. And while different brands fail to clearly define who they are, they create gaps that customers may not always forgive. But when identity, experience, and customer values align, brands don't just sell, they build lasting relationships. I am Iremofe Koforola, and this has just been Mind the Gap. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel across all social media platforms, on X, on TikTok, on Facebook at ConsumerHalla. See you next time as we continue to uncover the avoidable gaps between brands and their customers. Until then, mind the gap.